So this starts out for you as I wouldn't say quite a lark, but not anything like what it ended up being. You think you're going to you want to dope yourself. Uh, there's a threshold question of the fact that that's not legal. So did you worry at all about the fact that it's not legal, or did you think apparently we don't seem to take that be so good at figuring that out anyway, or how did you deal with the illegality of what you were undertaking?
Well, what I was doing, it's only illegal if you're a professional athlete. I mean, this is essentially the same thing that is the anti-aging business, hormone replacement, etc. So what I was doing was not illegal. Um, and had I been a professional athlete and being paid to be an athlete and doing this, well, then that would be breaking the laws of that sport, to which, I could be suspended or face all sorts of problems. But I approached it that I wasn't cheating, that I was setting out on an investigative journey, and was taking risks to explore what I saw as a broken system. So I didn't set out with with an idea of, oh, I'm cheating or doing something wrong. It was more like, hey, what is wrong with this system that is being sold to planet Earth as working, but clearly it doesn't.
But you were an amateur cyclist and competing. Is there no moment in amateur cycling where you're asked to say that you don't dope?
Well, I didn't. I intentionally didn't license myself again in the United States, so I wouldn't be competing in amateur events that were licensed, because I didn't think that that would be necessary to prove what I was doing. And the races that I did in France, yes, that was against the rules, but I was there with cameras documenting it. So even hypothetically, had I won, I was going to come out with what I did. It's not like I wasn't trying to like pull a fast one on anybody, other than to show the bigger picture of what is going on inside the world of professional sports. So in that regard, I didn't really have that kind of mindset, because there was no prizes at stake, and I didn't view myself as really cheating anyone. I was actually viewing myself as somebody who was out there to show the problems in a bigger system.
So you start on your program. Well, you have to find Gregory, and when you do find Gregory, I assume you think this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to any filmmaker, because he's such an amazingly made for the cameras character.
That is true. That is true. And there's a moment I'll share with you guys. In the movie, the first time we see Gregory is on that Skype, and it was a creative decision, because I had actually started talking to Gregory during the Sochi Olympics, and right after the Sochi Olympics, he's lecturing in Oregon. It's now July 2014. I hadn't started doping. I was actually 3 months into filming and doing my clean thing. And he invites me to come and meet him in Oregon, where he's lecturing at this symposium. And that's how he had a visa to come to the United States, because he's coming to lecture. And so I decided that I wasn't going to go up there with cameras. I wasn't going to go up there and, try to make a production out of it. I was just going to go up there to meet him and see who this person was. And he had no idea when I went up to Oregon that I wanted to dope. He didn't know anything other than I said, hey, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm exploring the anti-doping system in sports, and whether or not like what Armstrong did could still be done, and can I meet you? And so he welcomed me up there with open arms. We spent 2 days together, and being around Gregory means a lot of vodka, and at the time, I'm training for this race, so I'm like, oh, shit. I'm drinking. But we bonded, and we just formed this incredible friendship. And I said to him at that time, and this was July 2014, I said, Gregory, do you think it's possible that an Olympic medal can be won clean? And he looks me in the eyes, and his response was, I should believe. I try to believe. I don't believe an Olympic medal can be won clean. And then he takes this pause and he goes, I don't know, maybe I'm a bad man.
Mm.
And that was that. I mean, in my gut, I knew kind of what that meant, and we trusted each other. And I told him what I was going to do and what I wanted to do, and he said, "Okay, I'll help you." And at that point, we had a friendship, and so that Skype call was 6 months later, and we hadn't seen each other since then. We hadn't, we had corresponded, we had emailed back and forth, but that was the beginning of my doping program. And there he was 6 months later in Moscow, and without his shirt on, and we were off to the races. But had I not went to Oregon and spent those, 2 days with him, just as a friend, and forming that relationship, I don't think the next phase and the next phase would have ever happened.
I'm going to assume that you didn't go into the project thinking I could potentially get this guy killed.
Absolutely not. And those were some really, really stressful times that we navigated as essentially domino after domino fell. And it was a daily crisis management between myself and calling Dan Cogan at Impact Partners and going, how do we navigate this, and how do we essentially keep this guy alive? And we moved our production offices 3 times. We took everything offline. We moved his safe house 3 different times as well, and I was not sleeping well. I mean, it was a really, really stressful 7 months.
Which you could not have foreseen. But so when you were saying that you became friends, it puts you in maybe an unusual position for a filmmaker, a documentarian, because your lines are not so crisp and clear. Like the cameras are rolling, and if you hang yourself, you hang yourself, and if you don't, you don't. You were not, as a filmmaker, willing to let him hang himself yourself. You were not going to be the person who did that to him.
No, and it was on multiple levels. There's this idea, I think, in documentary of your subject and you're the filmmaker. But as this story started out, I was the subject, and he was my advisor, and he had been this incredible advisor and friend to me to help me that far in the journey. And so then all of a sudden the tables do a total switch. It's a 180, and now I'm his advisor, and he's suddenly the subject. And not only that, his life is in my hands. But it was never a question to me of whether or not I was going to protect this person. I'd spent a month with him in Moscow. I'd been with his family. I'd been with his wife. I'd been with his kids. I had met his friends, and he had never once asked for a single penny. Everything that he was doing was unpaid, was to be a part of the project. And so when everything happens and we're on that call, and he goes, I need to get out of here, and I'm watching the news, and I'm seeing that Putin is basically getting ready to push him under a bus. It was okay. I'm gonna help you, and I got him that ticket. I got him here, and it wasn't even until a couple days later that I called my producing partner and basically said, hey, guess what? Gregory's basically on his way here and landing. But we operated through the whole process of bringing the story to the New York Times. And even before that, there was just a trust and a friendship there that I was never going to push him under the bus. And every decision that we made as a team.